electric SUV, the Escalade IQ, in San Francisco, California. Yours truly was called upon to attend said launch. And hey, guess what? I live in Los Angeles. Guess what 2.0? Cadillac is claiming the hulking EV has a 460-mile range. Depending on how you go, SF is about 400 miles from LA. You thinking what I'm thinking? Road trip. A road trip where we could find out if the Escalade IQ could make the trip on a single charge. More important, why fly when you can drive, and especially when you can drive something as frankly magnificent as the latest and perhaps greatest from Cadillac? Right off the bat, allow me to state that had we gone the boring way down Interstate 5, we could have easily, but mind-numbingly made the trip on a single charge. When cameraman Alex Valencia and I climbed aboard the Slade, MT's social media pro Jofel Tolosa shadowed us in our long-term Mazda CX-70. The dashboard was showing 96% state of charge, SOC, and 449 miles of range. So right away you can see the big beauty wasn't fully charged up. Hey, when you're doing a range test, 11 miles can make a big difference.
7 seconds.
As we started
Today,
making the accompanying video, I decided going the boring way would result in a boring watch and an even less exciting read. So, I used the Escalade's built-in Google Maps to make sure we went down Route 101, adding a stop for lunch at the fantastic Madonna Inn and a final destination of joy, a delicious Taiwanese noodle joint near where Valencia and I both live. Total distance? 421 miles, leaving us a 28-mile buffer. It was definitely doable, although frankly, I'm totally the wrong man for the job.
Man, this is a nice
few
car.
years back, I was the first
really
non-lucid employee to drive the Air. Specifically, I drove the Air Dream Edition R, which, along with 1,111 horsepower, had an EPA-rated range of 471 miles. It was a 2-day test drive, with day 1 consisting of blasting up Angeles Crest Highway on big fat 21-inch summer tires. And day 2 being a 408-mile drive from Beverly Hills to San Francisco on 19-inch wheels wrapped in low rolling resistance tires. Our 2-car caravan went so slow that after a stop in SF, the cars had enough range to drive another 35 miles south to Lucid HQ. Afterward on Instagram, I said, until the human bladder gets re-engineered. I'm officially retired from long-range EV tests. They're really dull to do. Talk about a piss take. What I had wanted to do with that Lucid was drive it like I would drive any other car on a road trip, something I was eventually able to do with another Air, the Grand Touring Performance. Spoiler alert, I drove the 1,050 horsepower car real fast and had to stop and charge to make it home. However, I did get to experience how rapidly Lucids can charge, which is arguably more important than absolute range. This Escalade IQ trip would be a combination of my 2 Lucid drives. We weren't going to go slow, but we also weren't going to blast it up to 100 plus mph every time the opportunity presented itself. Would we make it?
80% of the
and if we had to charge, how would that go? Among the worst things you can do to an EV in terms of range is just drive straight on a freeway for hours on end. Part of the magic of EV efficiency is that when you brake, you're most often using the motors to decelerate, effectively running them backwards and recharging the battery.
Years ago,
in normal city driving, as much as 1/3 of the energy flowing out of the battery can be recaptured via regenerative braking. A wide-open, American-style road trip offers nearly none of those opportunities. Serious EV road trippers also learn that speeding, running the AC or the heater, both of which are electric in EVs, charging phones, playing music, all of that takes energy that could be devoted to spinning the wheels.
Bigger than that.
Us? We ran 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, just keeping up with traffic, officer, the whole way, with the heat, seat massagers, and Google Maps running, and using Super Cruise as much as possible, because it's awesome. Super Cruise is the best hands-free driver assistance system on Earth right now, and it's standard on the Escalade IQ. Even so, using it and its sensors has to chew at least a little into the range of the IQ. Super Cruise behaved extremely well on this trip, performing remarkably as always. With one hiccup, it suddenly stopped working. I quickly was on the phone with a Cadillac representative who asked if I was wearing a baseball hat. Indeed, I was. I took the hat off and voila, Super Cruise worked again. Turns out that certain baseball hats, when tilted just so, interfere with the camera that watches the driver's eyes to make sure they're on the road. So, the deactivation wasn't an unexpected problem, but rather a safety guardrail. I later put the hat back on and angled the bill up a skosh and experienced no more problems. Factoring those 15 in, I'd estimate I allowed Super Cruise to do the driving for 90% of the trip. When we pulled into the Madonna Inn for a nice, long lunch, it became pretty obvious we were going to have to charge.
Today,
we'd driven 232 miles, but consumed 260 miles of range. The Escalade IQ told us we had 190 miles left to go. We could maybe get to Joy 188 miles away, but we'd arrive on digital fumes. More likely, we just wouldn't make it. We made the incredibly easy decision to charge the beast. Here's the cool part about the year 2025, at least in EV hotbeds like California. There were tons of places to charge up. Had we had an NCS adapter with us, there's a great, compatible Tesla supercharger station about 3 miles from the Madonna Inn. Alas, we didn't have an adapter. There's a Tesla supercharger station at the Madonna Inn, but it's the variety where you can't use an adapter. No big deal, as even searching only for 350 kilowatts chargers, we were spoiled for choice.
That is 3 hours,
because doing so took us off the highway and gave us a bit of country two-lane driving, we elected to charge in the bucolic Danish town of Solvang, California. We found an open 350 kilowatts Electrify America charger plugged in the Cadillac, and I hardly believe this next part. It just started charging. The future is now. And, man, did it charge. We saw a peak of 279 kilowatts, which is fast for an Electrify America station. We plugged in with 94 miles of range showing and the SoC at 23%. The three of us made a pit stop inside a nearby grocery store, and 10 minutes after we'd plugged in, we had gained more than 100 miles of range. The IQ now said it could travel 206 miles. We let the caddy stew on the charger for another 10 minutes, then left with the battery at about 60% and the computer showing 290 miles before empty. That's nearly 200 miles of range in 20 minutes. We'll take it. The rest of the drive was a non-event. Somehow the traffic wasn't bad, even driving across the San Fernando Valley into the east side of Los Angeles on a rainy Friday night. We got to Joy a leisurely 8 hours after we left San Francisco's Dogpatch neighborhood with 125 miles of range showing. However, it was Friday night, York Avenue was hopping, and we couldn't find any parking. Of course, we ended up too tired for a full-on sit-down meal, so we went to a less hip part of the neighborhood for some tacos from a truck, arguably the better move. As for the Cadillac Escalade IQ, what a magnificent colossus of a road tripper. It's hard to express just what a luxurious grand slam of an SUV Cadillac has created. The big boy range is just the cherry on top. Besides, stopping for 20 minutes to charge over the course of an 8-hour adventure is nothing, and half of that time involved people using the restroom. Had we traveled at the speed limit, we would have easily made the 421-mile trip. After our informal trip, Motor Trend's test team strapped its gear to the IQ. On our official 70 miles per hour Motor Trend road trip range test, we learned the claimed range is only 10% higher than our test result of 415 miles. Most EVs are worse, some much more so. We could have made it without charging, but I'm sure glad we didn't.